So this is it, episode 50. It's day 18. That's a pretty good start, I think. I have roughly 700 or 800 views so far, and about 45 listeners and viewers on YouTube and through the podcast systems that I can actually read through. And I'm very happy. This is a good start. So I'm going to get on with the rest of September, or whatever part of September that I read through today, and call it a night, because I've been working since I woke up from my medication-induced days, sitting in my chair after getting up early and taking my meds like I'm supposed to. So here we are. And I need to thank everybody all around the world who's been listening, because it's awesome. The countries just keep adding on, and the areas within the countries keep adding on, and I love that, because it's just like people just want to listen to it a little bit, and that just makes me happy. And now I get to think about, do I want to bring in a third book? Do I want to try something new while I'm doing these two other books and then their sequels? I have an idea for maybe doing something a little bit harder, a little bit more difficult, but would be fun to do. And I could do it every day with no sweat. Anyway, back to September 2016. September 5th, 2016. The generator design works. The core levitation system is already being used within particle definition systems. It will produce a non-moving charge down the width of the affected wiring, and linking the rotational movements of the magnetic fields will knock the next layer of rotation around, effectively down the wire. It's a new type of one-point energy generator. You there. So the Apple core can be used. I know I came up with it independently, but it's being used with particle collision. So I'm going to see if this professor in NZ would be interested in getting it made. The design is done. It'll work. The hardest part is developing the interlocking mechanism to rotate it in opposite directions without slowing it down on the next rotation. But that's just a sliding magnet on top of the force movement that loops out at an angle once it's up to speed to stay in place. So stacks of these produce a charge with no end. If I could get a grant to get it made, I could kickstart it and make a living from that. So then there's a heating issue from high-speed rotation. So build it into a vacuum area and then air cool it, or helium cool it, or whatever to keep it cool, so the hull can be patented. 2016. Two cores oppositely designed. The inner magnet is L minus X long, where L is the straightened length of the inner edge. The inner magnet must be spinning L divided by L minus X times as fast as the outer magnet at the point of interaction. The outer core must cover L minus X divided by L of distance, so it rotates faster than the inner core, but has to be less powerful at 1 minus bracket L minus X bracket divided by L times L volume at point of interaction. There is a mathematical equation to determine the speed of the outer core relative to the inner core to keep the amount of power is displaced at the same rate, though the outer magnet is essentially longer by rotating faster than the inner magnet. Once these are set up, the wiring has to be determined. It may be worth looping the end of the upmost plate onto itself. There are wire loops at each of the plate levels, so the charge is rotating within itself on a given rotation, but is only moving in one direction within the wire itself, I think. The charges will be opposed to one another, but if the wires are looped, then the magnetic field changes state as they move downward into the next field, increases down the length of the wire, causing the motion to force down towards its next conclusion. Then once it's done and the wire hits the pulse break of the motion of rotation within the core, the pulse will jump to its nearest neighbor and continue downward if timed correctly. Will the end of the wire need a magnet pushed against it to bend the charge of the upper inner core downward naturally to help force the electrons to pass through on the end of the pulse of rotation? And then there's a drawing of stacked plates of a pulse pattern with some wiring of alternating electrons through a wire, and the slice through diagram, which I can post, I suppose. September 8th, 2016. G will let me know if the design will work from the professor. If it does, what does that mean? Just because the design works in theory, is it worth making? How do you make something like that while on SSI? Split the worm coil along the middle between the upper and lower bounds. That will make the actionable size of the coil one trapezoidal volume of magnetic flux with a curved leading and following edge. It increases as it rotates. The slowdown of the rotation is equal to the volume of wire that is exposed around the rotating area, so will that cause it to keep slowing, or will it slow only until the forces of the enclosing magnets is greater than that of the sum of the force acting on the wire? Is it slowest at its strongest point of rotation? But there is a point of the wire where the flux has saturated the wire, but the acting forces of the magnets is greater than the volume displaced along the wire's volume forcing it along. There has to be a non-magnetic shielding between the two rating coils to limit the interlocking interaction between the opposing poles, thick enough to not allow the interaction, and extending along the wire to not allow errant interaction between the wire itself. What happens to an electron that stays within a wire that has two opposing magnetic fields traveling in the same direction? Either the electron changes directions of spin as it hits the other pole slowing, or it increases in speed to get to the like pole it was formed in. Why has no one done this test yet? There are two ideal movements within the rotating. The electrons will move outward into the wire's radius and spill towards the path of least resistance. The electrons should swap direction as the magnetic field swaps poles, but the magnetic flux should still produce points of current rotation where the fluxes meet each other within the wire, so it should produce many rotations creating a current as the magnetic fields meet in the wire. September 12th, 2016. Weekdays, writing, weekends, animating. Videos need a plot, they need direction. They need a point. September 13th, 2016. Blog presentation. Hello viewers, my name is Jay. Quick information about me. I'm mentally ill and physically disabled. I was recently diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which is the combination of paranoid schizophrenia and bipolar type 1. I have a 99% severe ADA1, primarily inattentive, and muscular dystrophy. I've seen plenty of vlogs about schizophrenia and bipolar people, but I've yet to see a vlog based around the person just taking in it as it comes and getting on with their lives. Yes, I hear and see things that aren't there, and I can't keep my mood stable, but am I going to spend the rest of my life wasting it worrying about my conditions and my current inability to leave the house for more than an hour or two at a time? No, because I've got stuff to do, and just because I'm sick in the mind and body doesn't mean I have to give up and roll over. I can make this a learning experience and maybe get something done when I'm feeling well. For instance, I've become reclusive since a psychotic break almost exactly a year ago that led me to the psych ward last Christmas. This is my therapy and a way to rebuild discipline and hopefully meet some new people. I know that nobody but Nedios, my fiance, and our two dogs, A and L. This vlog will be about the things I do to pass the time to try to reinforce the good habits I need to get back to a normal life. Probably there's periods when I fail at it and try again. I'm hoping to go back to school next year if I can find meds that work out for me. We're still trying to figure them out. So every day I'm going to post a video of what I did and how things are going. I'm currently working on my first book, a gift for my niece and nephews that I started the day the twins were born a few weeks ago. I'm 21 days into the project and I've written about 72,000 words. It's about a group of animals and their adventures. I'm calling the first one Mousetail the Travelers until I can think of a better name. It's something I could see my brother reading his kids before bed to help them sleep when they're older. Since I'm unemployed and just recently qualified for SSI, I've been shooting for 5,000 words per day. It's been going pretty well so far, except for the last few days when I swapped meds and the psychosis came back, interfering with my ability to concentrate. Not that I've gone back to edit my work yet anyway. From what I've heard, it's better to finish the story than go back through an editing phase, but the entire plot is written down, so now I'm just stitching scenes together to get them to the next part of the story. I'm sure it'll need whittling down once the text is done. I'm only just beginning the first major arc of the story, and I've got no idea how long it'll be. The plot seems to span multiple books from the current length of the work, but again, I don't know how long, I don't know until it's done. I'm going to try and get it published if I can, but it will likely self-publish once I've saved enough to afford an editor to go through it. I'll do the cover art myself, probably in my Sharpie style like this. Points to cat. The wolf. I'm thinking I may end up doing illustrations for it as well throughout the story, but I'm not holding my breath until I finish the manuscript. First things first, right? I'm also going to be vlogging about my family. My fiance has just started a soap business, and we spend our Sundays when we can at the PSM, the world's largest ongoing market in the country, selling her soap. It's pretty fun helping to run a business with her. I was selling my artwork there last year before I got too sick and ran out of money making shirts like this, but it's nice to be able to help her out with whatever I can. So tomorrow I'll make my first post with the book in mind, and I'll see how long I can keep it up. If I can get back to 5,000 words per day, hopefully I'll have the work done in a few months. September 14th, 2016. Episode 3. The great thing about making YouTube videos is it forces you to clean things. The great thing about having dogs is that it doesn't matter how often you clean something they interact with, it's going to be right back to being messy. That being said, I did clean the car windows. I don't use the V very often, so it's not something noticed. September 15th, 2016. Things to discuss. Coping mechanisms and getting better. Sad BS. We all suffer from sad BS from time to time. Mine just happens to be a permanent name for one of my conditions. Schizoaffective disorder, bipolar subtype. I think it's funny that I suffer from sad BS, to be honest. But that's not what I wanted to talk about, though. When I was really ill, I tried to find videos on how to get better when I was in the worst of it. I couldn't find anything useful, so I thought I'd make this to try and give you a quick guide for the ill to get better as fast as possible. Your only job is to get better. Once you're better, you'll be able to get back to normal-ish lifestyle. But you first have to do these things to make the process smoother. 1. Take your meds. Yes, they suck, but that's your job. Take your meds. They don't give people antipsychotics just to control you. I'm telling you that you can trust the pills. They help. It takes time. Months to find the one that doesn't turn you into a lockjawed zombie, but they're out there. 2. Be honest with your doctor. They're there to get you as well as possible as soon as possible. There's no value in pussyfooting around the issue. You're ill. You need to tell them everything you possibly can. You'll likely also need to rebuild your ability to trust other people depending on how bad your paranoia got. I know it took me 9 months to trust mine, but even when I thought he was one of them, I still made sure I was honest about everything that was going on. It gave me less to worry about, and yes, I'm talking about my delusions. Sharing the fact that they exist means you're willing to fight them, which leads to the next thing. Fight your delusions. I don't mean hurt yourself or someone else, but when you know you're having a thought that isn't right, or you're seeing stuff that isn't meshing properly, like you're saying or doing things that make your loved ones worry about you and they're scared enough to tell you about it, take a breath and pay attention. The thought process for my delusions are, see something innocuous, but brain automatically takes it as something that with greater impact than reality dictates, feel anxiety and stress from experiencing that interaction, then go, that's not right, it's just a delusion. Oftentimes the feeling is bad enough, I'll repeat out loud, you're schizo, Jay, and it's created a referral that dulls the awful feeling of delusional interaction. I found that by repeatedly disregarding the interaction as I've been able to do, it's limited the length of psychotic periods, shortening and reducing the effect of them greatly over the last few months. 4. When you're really bad, totally ill, write the delusions down. It creates a place where you can unbiasedly release all the pent-up feelings that you're not able to, and it gives a way to get the thoughts out of your head so you can read them the next day and attempt to break away from the understanding that they weren't as real as they felt. It also is helpful for those around you to be able to read them. It feels like an invasion of privacy, but if it's your doctor, then it's worth doing because it gives them a real-time map of your illness. I use my iPad to do this. 5. Cut the garbage. You have a condition that is affected by your sugar levels, your caffeine intake, your alcohol, and your drugs. You really do have to cut them out of your life. I still drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and I shouldn't. It's my last habit to break. It really helps your mood stability, even though it's hard to do things like give up cider and alcohol and McDonald's and habitual drug use, but if you're running lean, then it's less chemical interactions affecting your baseline. It's not only worth doing because you will feel better for longer periods of time, but it will drastically change your ability to handle different stressors that may have harmed you before the change. There are withdrawal periods for any substance, McDonald's included, but eventually you don't miss them and your emotions are better in control and you get better. 6. Speaking of that, exercise. I'm a recluse myself, and I'm currently only able to leave the house for about an hour at a time without getting ill, but I know that I need to exercise every day if I can, just for an hour. You have to go and get the time to exercise. Go for a 40-minute walk with headphones in around your neighborhood. Build up to doing a 5K run a day. It's a multi-pronged weapon. You are forced to get outside, which for people like us can be hard, even damaging at first, depending on your point of recovery. But aversion therapy, where you force yourself to slowly do something that you find difficult over time, building in length really works. When it's sunny and I'm not in a downward swing, I go for a 4-mile hike. It's helping me lose weight, 60 pounds down, so far in the last year or so, and if it's raining or cold, then it's to the gym for a 5K elliptical and a 5K bike ride. It took me a year to be able to do this, and considering when I was 5 they told me I wouldn't be able to run due to at the time diagnosis of cerebral palsy, it's nice to know I can do it. Also, write down when you exercise and for which duration. I've been tracking it for months, and other than showing that I'm actually getting something done, it has the added benefit of showing my trending mood structure. I want to exercise when I'm happy and wanting to be healthy, and then I want to do it for a day, and then for a few days before my mood starts picking it up again. My mood has dipped. The endorphins are a very real mood stabilizer, and if you can feel that high after an hour of work, it's totally worth it. 7. Find something to do. Don't just watch television or surf the web. At least for me, it made my paranoia worse. I started writing my book for my family, and it's been wonderful for a sense of fulfillment that doesn't force me to be around people. 8. Get out of the house. I spent months on end in the house. I wouldn't see my backyard for weeks at a time. I still don't. Sometimes it's just like that. It comes and goes. The curtains are always drawn. I fixed that, though. I still can't get out of the house for more than 90 minutes without starting to get ill, but a year ago I couldn't get out for 5 minutes without dealing with psychosis. It gets better, and the more often you go outside and interact with people, the faster you'll heal and find your new equilibrium. 9. Know that people care about you. Your friends and family may not want to talk about your condition, which is their right. They may just not know how to talk about it, but if they're around you, they care about you. I literally only talk to my fiance and 2 dogs each day, and for months in the last year, I thought Nedios was my enemy. Psychosis sucks ass, but she stuck through it. All the hard parts, getting committed around Christmas, dealing with the off-the-wall psychosis, and the literal months to lessen. 10. It's slow. You're going to have a long path of this. But if you do these things and keep track of your life, you'll have a very real history to track of your improvement. You may have periods where you get worse for a few days or a couple of weeks after an upswing. That's normal. The condition is cyclical. Just remember, every day has a chance to be a good day, but if you act negatively every day will be always awful. Just take care of yourself and like an adult, and it will get better. 11. Love to you and your families and those that stuck by you through the hard parts. They're pretty awesome. So that's episode 50 down, and I hope you enjoyed it. There's a little bit more September to do, but it's a little too long for this episode. Thank you so much for listening to me. It means the world to me. It really does. Bye for now. Jay. Okay, well, I'm taking a break, so I might as well do some ads. This is my first one, so bear with me. So, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That's pretty cool. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And all you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Please visit anchor.fm/divergentmind to leave a message so that I may get back to you. Thank you. Have a nice day. So Anchor is asking me to ask you to support me financially. I would ask that you go to my Patreon to do that, which is patreon.com/divergentmind. It means you can either become a monthly subscriber at a different tier of $1 to $3 to $5. I'm not looking for a lot. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking for anything. This is going to go to the end of my podcast. I don't like it when podcasts straight up ask you for money when I'm doing okay. Well, I'm not doing okay. I'm surviving now to the point that I can make this. I would love to be able to make improvements to this by, say, getting... So basically, I'm running off an iPad, and I would like to improve it by getting different things that would make it better. Maybe some headphones that monitor output, or a better mic, though the mic I got was from JWife, so I might not even use the better mic. You know what I mean? It's all about whatever I need at the time, but really it's just to get healthy again, because I'm currently over 300 pounds and I don't want to die that young. I would really like to be able to afford some vegetables so I can go back to my vegetarian diet, because being this big sucks. And I'm happy to sit in a chair all day, but I really got to walk my butt off, literally. So that's what the money would be for. It would be for healthy food, because I can't afford it. I can afford ramen and pasta and rice and beans, but I can't live on carbs because that's how you get this big on antipsychotics. Junk food and carbs, which is just cheap and plentiful around me. So I would like to leave my house and just lose some weight. And to do that, I would like to go to the store and buy some vegetables, please. But you don't have to do anything. I'm not asking you to. I'm not begging. I'll figure it out on my own. Much pleasure, Jay. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that I have a YouTube channel called Taught Myself, and that I've decided to start selling merch already with a phrase that my brother showed me saying, "My disability is invisible," of which I made a hat for myself. So I decided to make hats, shirts, hoodies, for both men and women on spreadshirt.com. All you have to do is search for "My disability is invisible." It's in green, and that's mine. You'll know it's me because when you click the sale icon, the same little Divergent mind icon comes up. And I hope you'll support me. I make about $5 per shirt or per sale. Everything else goes to Spreadshirt. But that's okay because it's still a better deal than a lot of other places. And I really hope you'll support me. Come check me out on the YouTube. Teach me how to do that properly so I can have a community there too. And I await your response. Have a lovely day. Jay.
Hey people, take a listen to the Divergent Mind podcast. You get both insight into living with a serious mental illness and get to listen to a lovely tale about a journey cute little animals need to take. Don't miss out, and remember, divergent minds don't need to think alike.